Saying the defense failed to provide sufficient new evidence, Judge Michael Jans denied Chester Weger's post-conviction motion to have his murder charge vacated. Hi, and thanks for checking out Tom's take on this hot summer weekend. Now, Jans read his detailed verdict Wednesday afternoon, labeling many of Weger's defense team's witnesses as not reliable, not credible, and giving testimony that wouldn't be admissible in a potential retrial. Jan says much of the new evidence presented by Weger's team was based on multiple layers of hearsay and supposed deathbed confessions influenced by articles, a documentary, and podcasts too. And while saying the group of DNA experts called by the defense were credible, Jan says they focused on a single hair with a highly questionable chain of custody. Get to that in a second. He also felt the hair's DNA result wasn't sufficiently conclusive to lead to a different outcome at retrial. Jan's adding that you can't conclude the hair belonged to the Starved Rock killer, nor can the hair's DNA result rule Weger out. Weger attorney Andy Hale says he's going to appeal the decision. He says there's no doubt in his mind that Chester Weger is innocent, and he profoundly disagrees with the judge's decision. My opinion is not the station's. It's not our sponsors. It's mine. Okay? Officially, Chester Weger killed one woman in St. Louis Canyon at Starved Rock State Park in March of 1960. She was one of three victims. They were all together, three housewives from the suburbs who'd been found slaughtered on the canyon floor of St. Louis Canyon. Of course, Weger confessed, and of course, he sat in prison for decades, paying the price for his crime. He came to insist on his own innocence. What's the line from the Stephen King books, and he'd also from the Shawshank Redemption, which came from one of his books? Everyone in prison is innocent, right? So Weger builds up legions of fans, and they insist Chester's innocent. So innocent, right, that he didn't make parole until after his prosecutor died. So Tony Raculia passes away, and lo and behold, Chester gets out. And everyone with a pulse can see his plan to have his conviction overturned. And never officially stated, but widely believed, a chance at a later payday at taxpayer expense for all those years he was locked up. And he's suddenly represented by a lawyer who over time wore out his welcome among those who chose to listen to him. Now, many theories Andy Hill floated, to me, sounded like he'd been taking notes in every tavern in LaSalle County where these yarns are spun every day, and then took him to court. The one that really struck me, it was so odd, it was so basically illogical that it took a reporter like me with only a bachelor's degree to catch it. A hair was found on a glove of one of the victims. It turned out that the hair hadn't come from Chester Weger, and it had been found on one of the two women Chester had not admitted to killing. And yet here's Andy Hale somehow hanging a significant amount of his case on the notion that someone else's hair found on someone else's body somehow proved Weger hadn't killed a completely different person. It's nonsense. I bounced it off a couple of people much smarter than I am. I know they are. And I was asking them, am I missing something? And they said I wasn't. This lawyer either doesn't understand logic or he very clearly understood that he had a very weak case, and so he kind of threw this in there too. Now, despite his referring to all of this as part of a tsunami of evidence, which is what he has said, Andy Hale, Chester killed a woman in the canyon that day. But I don't think he acted alone. I'm a small guy myself, and I think it's unlikely that someone of a small size could have so brutally murdered three women on his own, or even moved them. Chester Weger aside, I want to know the whole story. I know this message is going to get to him somehow. And Chester, I understand you're in ill health in another state. Your fight's over. You're never going to get the big payday from the taxpayers of Illinois. This isn't the Illinois lottery. We have one of those. It's too late to do anything good with your life but one thing. Tell us the whole story. Tell us who was with you. Tell us who killed the other 2 women. Your life has been wasted. You're always going to be guilty. So do something right and proper in your life while you still can. Please. It's just the decent and right thing to do. Again, this content was my opinion, not the station's, not my sponsors, but mine. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in the morning.